Okay, thank you everyone. We'll get started if everyone's ready. Okay. So I'll open the meeting at 5:33 p.m. on Thursday, the 11th of April in Council Chambers. And first, I'll pay respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members of our community by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet. The Bentley campus is located, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and on our Kalgoorlie campus, the Wongufa people of the Northeastern Goldfields. We acknowledge and respect the continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this university, city, and region. And I'll add personally how privileged and wonderful it is to live on land of the oldest continuing cultures in the world. Members present today, we have Arifin, Thane, Hannah, myself, Jasmine, and Mari. And online we have Xavier, Jackie, and Nini. Thank you for coming. Others present, we have Mitch, Max, Paul, and then we have Andrew, Chloe, Benjamin, Ella, Hamida, Robert, Bernie, Zoe, Kyle, Eleanor. So if I said any of those wrong, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And as well, we have Joanne from Student Assist online. Apologies and leave of absence. We have Feliz, Cadence, and Kim, and I don't believe we have any absent. Moving on to number 3, do we have any disclosures of any potential or perceived conflicts of interest on anything in this agenda today? No. We're also moving on. Minutes of the previous meeting. I have a motion that the Representation Board approves the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 14th of the 3rd, 2024 as a true and accurate records of the proceedings. Do I have a mover for that? Amari, do I have a seconder? Thane, Amari, do you want to speak on it? Thane, I just noted in the general business discussion, it says students from Palestine. That should be students for Palestine, it's just from to for. Just a transcribing thing. That was the only thing you noticed if everyone's okay with that. Okay. Then I'll have all hands in favour of that motion. Is any against? That is carried. Are there any matters arising from these minutes? No, good. Okay, we have public question time. So how public question time goes is a maximum of 15 minutes and it's 2 questions per student. And I try and give each student a fair amount of time each, so don't try and take up 10 minutes for your 2 questions. If there's multiple students who want to ask questions, can I get a rough hands up of who wants to ask questions? 1, 2. Just 2? Okay, just a rough. Okay. So who would like to start off with a question? Ella? Please go ahead.
It's good that I saw those posters put up for the Palestine protests that are coming up in the next few weeks, like the April 27th one by the Guild. But I think it's important that the Guild continues to reiterate its support for upcoming pro-Palestine activism. Yes, I know the Guild has moved pro-Palestine, motions, but I think it's important the Guild actually thinks about affirming its support for activism both on and off campus for Palestine, considering that the genocide is continuing and Netanyahu has set a date for the ground invasion, and it is seriously escalating, especially with the starvation crisis in Gaza. And I think, the Guild has been very disappointing actually in its lack of action in terms of mobilising and building and promoting the pro-Palestine movement, basically, towards students. Like, this is one of the biggest political issues that we're all living through, one of the biggest moral questions of our time. And so I think that the Guild needs to do a lot more with all of its resources, all of its reach, all of its money, and all of its institutional power and weight. I think it's disappointing that the Guild refused to support the Students of Palestine Kafir Day. I've already gone over this before. And I think it's also disappointing that the Guild is kind of refusing to allow Students of Palestine to do more on-campus activism by, not registering a club for Students of Palestine, which is an explicit activist grouping of Students for Palestine.
Sorry, I'll just stop you there, just if you can wrap up and turn it.
Yeah, I'll turn it into a question, yeah. And I think, the Guild should actually send out emails and online promote seriously the upcoming Palestine demonstrations, particularly the Nakba demonstration, but also the one on April 27th, because there's been a real lack of young people at the protests, and I actually do think that the Guild could put way more of an effort into really trying to make an argument to students that they should care about this issue and go to it and that they can do something about it when a lot of people feel extremely powerless right now. So I guess my question is, like, what is the Guild going to do to actually seriously and actively promote upcoming pro-Palestine activism, and also support on-campus pro-Palestine activism?
Okay. Jasmine, would you like to answer that? Put your hand up.
So in terms of mobilising students to the upcoming rallies and things like that, I've reached out to Friends of Palestine WA for their, obviously you've seen the posters, but I've asked for their socials, graphics and everything as well. And I'm going to be including in my president's email this month, that should be going out towards the end of next week, the tile and a description about the importance of showing up and standing in solidarity with the people of Palestine, and basically saying why the Guild has its stance as what it does, and the importance of showing solidarity with the Palestinian community in Palestine, and also for our students here on campus as well, and the broader Perth community. So there's kind of like that point in terms of having emails going out to students and stuff. And we've also got their like the Instagram events that they post as well, that we'll be sharing, and we've got in our calendar for this month's rallies. In terms of on-campus activism, you might have seen that the Palestinian Society at Curtin and UWA have posted about basically what they want to do in terms of BDS and boycotts in particular, and universities cutting ties with certain organisations. That's something that the Guild will be working with those groups about. And we also, for the upcoming thrift market, will be promoting how the proceeds from the market and anything that's earned from that market will be going towards a charity in Gaza. And we're going to do a bit of like a social media campaign, sharing some information about that as well.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
So, just quickly as well. Personally, I'm creating a bit of a thing to put on the website as well, about kind of in our project section about why the Guild supports Palestine and why students should. And hopefully we can also link that onto our communications and sort of our promotions about Palestine, because sometimes with students they do get a bit confused as to why we're promoting this, the relevance to the Guild organisation, or sometimes they are confused, like not all students want activist stuff, and we do sometimes get that pushback from it. So we're going to create that link to sort of connect to students why exactly the Guild is and why they should too. That's something else. But Ella, do you have a second question?
I guess like a big overarching question is like, why has it taken like 7 weeks into campus for more of the stuff to actually actively get in train? But also another question is, in the Guild Council meeting a few weeks ago, you guys said that if we wanted the Guild to support FOPA protests, we should have moved a motion. But then Mitch said to me that the motion didn't have to get up in this meeting because you guys have already moved vague pro-Palestine motions. But I think it's important to note that just moving a pro-Palestine motion in general doesn't actually commit you to supporting pro-Palestine activism, which is what the motion I tried to move yesterday was about. And yeah, so I think that like is something that I'm confused about.
Jasmine, do you want to respond to that?
So I'm happy to respond. So in terms of kind of the overarching, in terms of like from a governance perspective about kind of not having a double up of motions and things like that, when it comes to the Palestine rally specifically from Friends of Palestine WA, we have moved and already carried motions about endorsing rallies from that organisation, which is why the ones that you sent through last night through email, we didn't have to do an additional motion on that through Reps Board, because it's already been endorsed through Reps Board, so therefore exec can endorse when it comes to Friends of Palestine WA rallies. But then when it comes to like the keffiyeh wearing event, where that wasn't, we hadn't endorsed an event like that on campus before and didn't have a precedent to be able to go based off of. That's why it went back to Reps Board, if that's why you're confused why some things.
Yeah, and then Reps Board never supported the keffiyeh day, and then like hasn't supported like some of the only pro-Palestine activism that has happened on campus. So it shows you like the fault lines in the strategy.
And then we had the amount of Palestinian students and the Palestinian Club were the ones that raised the concern on campus about why they didn't want the keffiyeh wearing event.
Yeah, but we met up with the Palestinian Society and they said to us that they supported the keffiyeh day, just couldn't go to it because of Ramadan.
Yeah. We'll move on to any other questions. Does anyone else have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay,
just
cool.
so online can hear.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you guys were willing to, were going to condemn the hypocritical messages from Albanese and Penny Wong about the aid workers who were killed in Gaza. Penny Wong exclusively refers to Israel as a friend and has stated verbatim that, you know, friends have disagreements and, you know, Israel should listen to their friends and that sort of thing. And in February, the Labor government moved $900 million for Albert Systems, which is an Israeli arms company that boasts it tests it tests its weapons really on the ground against Palestinians, and that's $900 million. That's almost $1 billion for Albert Systems by this Labor government. We still have diplomatic and military ties to Israel via our Labor government. I was just wondering what you guys are doing, Veronica, in the Labor Party to fight for Palestinians in the Labor Party. I was just wondering what you...
It's not relevant to the representation board.
Yes, it is relevant, Veronica. It is relevant.
You can't ask what Veronica is doing.
No, yes, you can, because she's the president of the student guild and she says she supports Palestine. Whatever, education officer, whatever.
Guys, I'll please be simple.
It is relevant. Please answer the question. It's a political question about the state of the world. Please answer it, Veronica.
Okay. Jasmine?
In terms of, if you're talking about basically what the guild wants to do to publicly condemn the actions of, so if we want to condemn the actions of Penny Wong and the Australian government more broadly, and basically how horrific their policy and their stance on this has been, that's something I can include in our communications. If you had something specific in mind, please email me, like the president email, if there was something like even that you wanted referenced or something like that, and then I can, up to my interpretation, I can put something in about how disappointing the current government has been on this stance. And if there's kind of like there was something more specific you want done or anything like that, again, if you want to do a motion through RepSword, do that 100%. And yeah, just email me in terms of if there was something that you wanted me to include, I can include something about the government's lack of action and how horrific this has been. I'm happy to do that.
Rob, yep, go ahead. Just
the specific thing is the Labor Party in particular?
Yeah, if you want to send through what, you know, the Labor Prime Minister and Penny Wong, everyone, you can send through and I will, and then you can see what I send through in the email and basically the critique on the government's lack of action here.
Okay. Anyone else with a question?
Wait, so Veronica, what do you actually think about anyone being second?
So Ella, do you want someone else to ask a question? Because you've had two questions.
Oh yeah, Albert.
As a card-carrying member of the Labor Party, I think it's important that you denounce the hypocrisy of the Labor Party and their support for this genocide. And yeah, I think what we really want to know is how you're pushing the party to the left. Like, how are you making them commit this? Like, how can we? Yeah, what are you materially doing to make them support this genocide less?
I do absolutely denounce the horrific stuff that's going on. If you would like to come to, this isn't a Young Labour meeting, I'm so sorry, but I'm not going to comment on that kind of stuff. I do what I do for the guild as a chair here. That's the forum for that. Rob?
Just a further kind of on that kind of particular point. I guess the point is basically that the guild should make note of the fact that Labor Party members are part of the representation board and part of the guild executive, and should therefore make particular note in these things that you're talking about before, documents presented to students and stuff. The guild should make particular note that they do not support the actions of the Labor Party, given that there is members of the Labor Party within the guild.
Okay. If we would like to talk about what Labor members for Palestine, Unionists for Palestine are doing, we can do that outside of this meeting. This is not the forum for that. Okay. Are there any
That's a cop out, Veronica.
Are there any
Seriously, it's a
other
cop
members?
out because I
Ella,
don't believe
you
that
have
you're
had
doing
your
something in the
two
Labour Party
questions.
if you're not barely
Please
doing anything in the
stop.
guild.
Are there any more questions? No? Okay. No, you've had your two questions. I'm sorry, Rob. Okay. Just calm down.
Are you going to note that down?
Sorry.
Are you going to note that down for this meeting, that these questions were asked?
Being minuted. This is recorded. This is live streamed, actually.
Okay.
Everything is minuted, recorded. The only time something isn't minuted or recorded, for those who don't know, is when we move in camera, and that is when it's member-only discussion. And again, anything moved in that situation has to be noted anyway. So
Thank you, Jasmine. Thank
No,
you. Okay.
Are you going to note down that you're going to put that explicit condemnation of the Labour Party in your
Yes, we
documents?
can do that, Ella. That's fine. I have no problem with that at all. Okay.
we'll have it minuted. Veronica's comment
That's fine.
about condemning.
Thank you, Jasmine. It's all good. Okay. Well, then we're just at the end anyway. So I'll move on from public question time. Thank you for public question time. And I'll move on to item 7, items not for discussion. Do we have any? I don't think we do. No, all good. Okay, I'll move on to reports. Now, Jasmine's past Guild Council report was motioned sent around, but Jasmine, I think you're going to do a verbal update as well. So please go ahead.
I wanted to give a verbal update on some of the housing campaign stuff. So for those who have been keeping track, the Residential Tenancy Act is currently up for reform, and there was some discussion at whether Tranche 2, which is the rounder reform that would include student renters and lodgers in the Act, whether that would be delayed. I raised my concerns alongside Make Renting Fair WA, a group that we're alliance with, that this is a priority for student renters and lodgers, and this is something that needs to be done as soon as possible, not delayed because of the excuse of an election or let's see what's in the budget, rah, rah, rah. It needs to actually be at the forefront of policymakers, and it's something that needs to be done now. They rushed the first round, they can get through the second round this year as well. And Make Renting Fair and Circle Green Legal Centre are pushing behind this as well in terms of in the interim from the tenancy reform, where the Guild is also working on getting a lot of the maintenance issues done in a student accommodation. For anyone that lives in a comm, you'll know there's mould, there's no heating, there's no cooling. A lot of the, like you would have seen Curtin Life post a photo of student accommodations from the 80s, and it looks identical because no renovations have actually been done. So we're going to be pushing the university to do that and doing a larger campaign of case studies and going down and talking to students about that and presenting that and making it publicly known, like this is Curtin University, a multi-million-dollar university that doesn't care about whether its students sleep in multi-accommodation. So that's a big thing. If there's anyone that wants to help work on the housing campaign, please get in contact with me. And if you have any friends that are in a comm that want to share their story of living in the process and dealing with Unilodge, happy to have them a part of the campaign and for a lot of that stuff to go public eventually once we've put together all the digitals.
Thank you, Jasmine. Is there any questions for Jasmine, that report? No? All good. I'll move on to my report. I'll take it mostly as read. I'll add as well, I think Amari's report goes into a lot, I might go into more, but Amari's doing great work on their content warnings push throughout the uni, and it's gone to a trial within humanities in their units. We've created a really flash guide for tutors and teaching staff to do their content warning work in units. It's really gorgeous, and it's much better than what the uni could ever do. As well, just an update about the Darlington Statement. I think I did update before about how a lot of our forms and processes are much more inclusive in terms of gender and sex. Currently, it looks like the university will be looking towards signing the Darlington Statement, and myself and Xavier will be in a meeting for that next week. We're going to make sure that they do it very well and not tokenistically. But if there's any questions for me, please go ahead. Oh, all good. Okay, I'll move on to Vice President Sustainability and Welfare. Jackie, yours was submitted. Do you want to add anything to it?
No, I'm happy to take it as tabled, but I'm open to any questions anyone might have.
Yep, any questions for Jackie? Seeing none, I'll move on to FBL Rep Hannah. Anything to add?
I'll take it as tabled, but happy to answer questions.
Any questions for Hannah? All good. Science and Engineering, Thane, anything to add?
I'll just take it as tabled, but I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Anything for Thane? All good. Humanities, Amari, anything to add?
The only thing I'll add is, like you said, Veronica, the pilot for the content warnings officially kind of started just yesterday. All of the UCs who are involved now have all the resources for them. So hopefully between now and the end of semester, that is going to slowly start being implemented in at least a handful of units. And from there, we'll be able to make any final tweaks we need before sort of rolling it out further. But outside of that, I'll take the rest of my report as tabled and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Amari. Any questions? We're good. Moving on to student assist. Thank you, Joanne, for that report. Oh, sorry. Yes, I've missed health sciences. Sorry, Nini, we have your report. Do you want to add anything to it?
I'm happy to take it as tabled, but any questions, feel free to ask.
Questions for Nini? All good. And then student assist. Joanne, did you want to add anything to that report at all?
Nothing to add. Happy to answer questions.
Good. Any questions for Joanne about that? All good. And then we have ISC. Kim is not here, but do we have any questions on notice for Kim about that report? No, all good. PSC, Arifin.
I just add maybe a few weeks ago, we have a discussion with the student assist that we would like to propose some new changes for HDR procedure and guideline. For example, supervisory feedbacks from PhD students for their supervisor as well. And then gonna be some review as well for the existing guideline and procedure that we think need to be changed. And then this discussion is still going on with the student assist, and then we'll try to propose this one to the Deputy Vice Chancellor. And then in the coming week, maybe we'll see the response from them. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Arifin. Great work. Any questions for Arifin? No, all good. Queer officer.
Yeah, I'm happy to take mine as tabled and happy to take any questions as well.
Any questions for Xavier? All good. Oh, wait, Jackie, sorry. Go ahead.
It wasn't a question, it was more of a comment. I just wanted to say that it was really disappointing and upsetting to hear the response in the comment section of the Respect at Uni Week with your video with Curtin Life, but I am glad that the university took those comments down. But I just want to say it really sucks that that's happened. But yeah, thank you very much for all the work that you do in your role.
Thank you, Jackie. If there's no more questions, I'll move on to Accessibility Officer, who's also not present, but are there any questions on notice? All good. And Higher Education Developments, is there any, Marianne's not here, but was there any discussion or questions on this report? I'll personally just note, if you saw the bit about, something that caught my eye was the survey on casual racism in universities was a little bit concerning, or quite concerning actually. And I know that we're already doing a lot of projects, but maybe it might be helpful if the Guild did a little bit more digging into racism on the Curtin campus. Maybe we did a little bit of a dig into that and see if there's any way we can tackle that. I know through Student Assist we do get some reports about it that students have, and maybe we should, in the light of this, do a bit more research. So maybe me and Jackie, we can do a bit of work on that and see how we get. Any other comments on that? No? Okay. Well, then I have a motion that the Representation Board notes the reports. Can I have a mover? Anna, and a seconder. Amari, can I have hands in favour of that? And that is carried. Thank you. Okay, items for discussion and resolution. We have one submitted by yours truly, 9.1 May Day. I have a motion that the Representation Board support the celebration of May Day. This is moved by Jasmine and seconded by Amari. Jasmine, would you like to speak on this?
So for those who don't know, May Day is a celebration of all the hard work of workers and the trade union movement here and across the world. I hope everyone in this room is a member of their trade union. If they're not, it's especially being if you're a guild rep and you're a part of the student union, it's something that we should all be unionists here. And if you're not a member of your trade union, please sign up today as soon as possible. If you don't know which union represents you, please talk to myself or Veronica and we can help you sort that out. I would love to see as many reps as possible, and at May Day, it's a very fun time and also a very important time to celebrate the worker, and we'll also be promoting this to students to make sure they come along. Bring your friends and family. It's a really good event. If you haven't been before, it's very fun.
Thank you, Jasmine. Amari, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is Jasmine pretty much hit all of it. Just, yeah, like she said, we are quite literally a part of the union here on campus, so it makes sense that we support unions elsewhere, and the work we're doing doesn't just end when we leave campus. It continues with us like when we go into the workforce. So it's only fair that we advocate and support for unions, across WA as well.
Are there any more questions or discussion on this? No. Okay, I'll take it to a vote. All those. Oh yeah. Well, good. Sorry.
Yeah. I just think May Day is not just about supporting, not just about telling people to sign up for their unions and then saying you support unions and stuff, or celebrating. It's more of historically it's been more about workers winning for their rights and the idea of including masses and building movements. And, I just think putting a motion like this should also mean supporting that aspect of May Day. You need to talk about rank and file, activism, working class people just going on strikes and winning for their own rights. It's not about just celebrating or just having a more top-down kind of thing approach to this, because it's always been workers actually pushing things from below, and what is Guild doing for this? What strike has Guild, in the recent ones, other than the one last year, there's been strikes in Perth as well, and especially at a time when workers' wages are just going below, it's the economic crisis is really affecting most workers right now, and there's rising inflation rates and housing crisis. All of this is going on, and I think it should be more than just supporting this thing in a very I don't know, not even the bare minimum. I don't think that is really the bare minimum. And historically unions have taken political struggles as well. I think Guild should really push this to be a day to take up the Palestine issue as well. There's a genocide going on. Workers have been a really important part of all the anti-war movements, and opposing genocide should be a part of this day, and we should push for that. We should try to mobilize for that and push for this day to be more left-wing.
Thank you for reiterating that. In the background of this motion, there is quite a bit of history across the world from May Day, which covers a lot of that. But a big part of promoting this would be as well as telling students, if you're with your union, go with your union. If not with your union, go join your union and go with them. And if you're not working or it isn't relevant to you, go with some of the movements that are going to be there. There's going to be plenty of anti-war groups there. I definitely expect that there'll be pro-Palestine groups there, and that will be something that we will advertise in that as well. Jasmine, sorry, did you want to say anything?
I just wanted to address some of the comments about how it was kind of mentioned how the Guild hasn't supported the trade union movement or been involved in any strikes or anything like that. And I just wanted to add that, you can go through and look at our past motions. We supported the nurses on strike, of course, the NTU. We supported the AstraZeneca vaccine workers on strike. Recently, there was Guild reps that helped the concrete workers in Kwinana, the AMWU strikes. So just because you haven't seen something in the past couple months come through reps board doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And even past communications about unionism, we've also been in the talks with RAFU, the ASU, the UWU about having some on-campus events with unions and Unions WA more broadly next semester, to also make sure that students understand the importance of joining their union and protecting their rights as a worker, and also the importance of the trade union movement and what that has achieved historically as well.
I think Ella, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the big achievements of the trade union movement have happened because rank and file workers have gone on strike and protested and actually stopped the means of production, stopped the flow of profits to demand things. That's how the 8-hour day was won. That's how equal pay was won. It's how all the big demands in Australian history have been won, right? Not through top-down unionism, not through business unionism, not through negotiations with the boss. And I think we should take that approach, embody the spirit of the working class historically, and the gains that they have won historically, the immense, amazing gains of the working class movement through rank and file struggle from below, of being oppositional to bosses. That's what the legacy of May Day is. That is what the history of May Day is, that we have to revive today. Because the union movement today in this country is at such a dismal state in which union membership is at its lowest levels ever. And we can't just blame workers on that. We have to blame the union leadership on that, and the Labor Party on that, and the history of the Labor Party gutting the unions and being the parties of neoliberalism. So I think we have to actually look at reality in the face and not just say, join your union, join your union. We have to rebuild rank and file militant unionism. That's what's going to take workers' wages forward. It's what's going to take people's lives forward in this country, where workers' wages are below inflation at the moment. The union bureaucrats have forced workers to accept below inflation pay rises. It is appalling. So we can't just say, join union, join union. We have to have a strategy of looking to rank and file militant unionism from below, of fighting back on the streets, fighting back and trying to build the union movement in a left-wing way, which is what our whole argument about strategies towards fighting back, towards winning things, is about militancy, fighting on the streets, and actually disrupting things. And that's what the May Day historically has always been about, and that's the kind of spirit to bring into May Day. That's why I think it's important. It's a political thing. It's also about strategy. May Day was about the international working class movement, workers fighting back internationally across borders and realising that they have solidarity with Palestine, with the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, with Indigenous people, with all forms of oppression. So I think that's just important. I think
Thank you, Ella. No,
I don't really
have echoed what is in the background of this motion.
Yeah, it's just like your guys' approach to unionism is not that though. It's not rank and file militancy. It's not actually mobilising people from below. It's about looking to leaders, looking to the Labor Party, and looking to union bureaucrats in a top-down way. So that's why we're saying this.
I also take that, Ella. I do agree with a lot of that. As well, for a lot of students, though, some people go, what is a union? And I do think there are different approaches we're taking to get...
But the union movement has done, like, that approach has just failed the union, like, movement right now. It's because the union movement doesn't fight for people. It's why no one joins a bloody union.
This isn't on the substance of the motion anymore. Okay, Jasmine, and then we'll wrap up, because if this is not... Okay, if we're talking about the motion here, we're not debating, but okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I agreed with what Ella said, and the importance of militancy in the trade union movement, which is why it's really important to support workers who go on strike. And we have seen continuously, especially in unions like the SDA, where it's a boss forward union, and it's insane. And when you see a lot of the agreements that happened with Coles and Kmart and a lot of the horrible things that went on, and I think it's horrible.
Labour-less unions have also promoted a below inflation pay rises for workers. It's not just the Labour right.
And I was at those rallies and I was fighting against it as well. It's just like I can't handle you saying that a lot of these members of Repsol.
I'm just going to cut off discussion because we're going around in circles. I just want to. It seems we're all in favour of this motion. Generally, it's like I'm just going to move on to a vote. Okay. Can I see hands in favour of this motion? Yep. Any against? Not seeing any. That motion is carried. Okay, move on to 9.2. Free the Hounds. That the Representation Board support the Free the Hounds campaign to ban greyhound racing in Western Australia. This was submitted by a student, River Clark, who's not here. It was moved by Amari, but Amari's had to leave due to something going on there, I think. So would anyone else like to move this motion instead? Jasmine, can I have a seconder? Hannah? Jasmine, would you like to speak on this one at all?
No, I'm happy. Happy for the motion. River is a part of a club here on campus and has worked with the Greyhounds organisation that the Guild has done some events with to end greyhound racing here in Western Australia. And yep, I'm for this motion.
Yep. Hannah, did you want to add anything at all? Was there any discussions or questions on this motion? River has said if anyone wants to get any more contact about this campaign, please feel free to contact them. I'll take it to a vote. All those in favour? Any against? I think there is. That is carried. Okay, moving on to 9.3, Rainbow Futures WA. This is also submitted by River. The motion is that the Representation Board support the Rainbow Futures WA LGBTQIA+ campaign, which encompasses the following demands. A, update the Equal Opportunity Act to provide better protections for LGBTQIA+ people. B, modernise the legal gender recognition process for trans and gender diverse people. C, ban conversion practices which seek to change sexual orientation or gender identity. D, change surrogacy laws to make altruistic surrogacy available to all people, not just single women and opposite-sex couples. And E, prohibit intersex babies and children being subjected to deferrable medical interventions without their personal informed consent. This one is moved by Xavier. Can I have a seconder for that one? Oh, sorry, seconded by Jackie. Xavier, would you like to speak on this one at all?
Yeah, sure. I wrote a little thing to read off of because I wanted to do justice to the essence of River's motion. So I just wanted to thank River for the important motion and also recognise their past and ongoing work within the queer community. So Rainbow Futures is definitely in line with the work of the queer department and the Student Guild in general. And committing the Guild to the Rainbow Futures campaign is an important extension of our allyship and community work, and also puts pressure on us to keep moving forward with that work, particularly in terms of legislative reform. So one of the demands that Ronnie's just mentioned is the demand to prohibit intersex babies from being subjected to deferrable medical interventions. So within the context of, we've been talking about the Darlington Statement, that's also a demand in the Darlington Statement. So as a signatory of the Darlington Statement, we are already committed to that. So you can think of Rainbow Futures as being like, it's just bringing more of the kind of important legislative change in, not just intersex, but in terms of LGBTQIA+ legislative reform in general. So yeah, there's lots of other important demands as well. So banning conversion therapy is a really obvious one. I'm really passionate about that. I've been advocating for that for the better part of a decade now. And given the context of the fact that conversion therapy has been banned in other states now, such as New South Wales. So it's a good time for us to put pressure on the WA government to live up to their promises that they've made in the past many times to criminalise that. So I think that this proposal is very reasonable and very relevant to the queer community. So yeah, I don't see why we shouldn't be endorsing it.
Thank you, Xavier. Jackie, did you want to add anything to that as seconder?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all good. Is there any questions or discussion on this motion? Okay, I'll take it to a vote. Can I see hands in favour? There's not any against, I don't think. That motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. And we'll move on to 9.4 VC salaries. This one was submitted by Ella. Thank you, Ella. It's a motion that the Representation Board A, condemn the recent pay rise of Curtin University Vice-Chancellor Harleen Hayne, and B, call for a cut to Vice-Chancellor salaries to that of an average full-time staff member. This one's moved by Jasmine. Could I have a seconder for this one? Thane? Jasmine, do you want to speak on this one as mover?
I agree with a lot that's said in the preamble, in the background. It's pretty disgusting that our VC has taken that 13% pay rise and now earns over $1 million and is the highest paid VC in WA. Even the UWA VC took a pay cut, whilst ours happily took that pay rise. The VC's wages don't go through the Salaries and Allowances Tribunal, yet them being a CEO of a public asset. Universities are public assets and public owned. And just like every other CEO of a government trading enterprise, their wages should be scrutinised and should not be able to just increase to however much they want. It's pretty shameful that our VC earns more than double the amount of the Prime Minister, more than a High Court judge. It's very shameful to see, and I'm very happily support this motion.
Thana seconded. Do you want to add anything?
Sure. I generally agree with what. Oh, there we go. Oops. Sorry about that, everyone. I agree with what Jasmine said. It's ridiculous the amount the VC is paid, being paid more than Prime Minister and earning much more than other academic staff, which I'd arguably say probably do just as much, if not equal amounts of work. So, yeah, I definitely believe that a pay increase for the VC is utterly ridiculous.
Alice, the person who submitted the motion, did you want to add anything at all?
No.
Okay, we'll go discussion. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so it's all well and good to move the motion, whatever, but what are you actually going to do? On the ground, concretely, what are you going to do? Are you going to publicly denounce the pay rise? Are you going to put it on your social media, your Instagram? I don't know if you'll have a TikTok or whatever. Are you going to put posters up talking about this? She's the enemy of students here and also staff. The whole trying to cooperate with her, trying to work with her, be nice to her, and not actually fully fucking oppose her. It just doesn't fucking get you anywhere. And we've seen that in the past with Illuminate being in power for the past 10 years or whatever. Even with the staff strike and the enterprise bargaining agreement, you guys did the bare fucking minimum during that. You guys did not explicitly tell students to not go to class. And it's just fucking ridiculous, honestly. And now the Vice Chancellor is getting a pay rise. And it's, what are you doing concretely on the ground within the student body to actually oppose this? Are you going to I don't know, try and whip up strikes? Are you going to be actively opposing this? What are you doing about it?
Thank you for that question. I'll just read it as well. Can we keep the swearing just to a minimum for these forums? But Jasmine, do you want to?
Yeah, so we already have some posts and video content already filmed up to go that will come out probably tomorrow morning if you want to see on our TikTok and our Instagram reels about the VC's increase in salary. We can, if there is additional things that you want to do in terms of on the ground movement about this, we're happy to talk about that and help if there's something that we want to do in terms of that. Just to add with the comment you made about the Guild's action for the NTU strikes, the NTU president and secretary actually came out and thanked the Curtin Shinnet Guild for their involvement with the strikes. So I really do not appreciate people saying that the Guild did fuck all for the strikes when we really, when literally the union came out and thanked us. And you can talk.
The NTU tried to tell their members a few years ago. Wage cut.
Guys,
job losses.
Please just let me finish.
Okay, so what are you, pro NTU or you anti NTU? Which one?
Guys, please. We're just talking.
I'm pro worker in the NTU as well.
Okay. Motion. Let's not go into
that. Was just my comment on that. It's not relevant to this motion, but
okay. Rob, if it's a question on the motion, yes, but we're not talking about this further.
We would just say that the Guild did everything they can for the NTU strike. I think it should be noted.
This is not about the motion. I'm sorry. We're talking about the motion.
The strike, there was
Sorry, Rob. I'm sorry. Please stop talking. This is not about the motion. You can't capitalize on these forums like
Did
this.
the Guild tell students?
Ella, please. This is your warning. Sit down. Please don't shout, guys. Calm down, please. Okay. I'm going to take this to a vote. All in favour of this motion? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, 9.5, immigration policy. This one was also submitted by Ella. Thank you, Ella. There's a motion that the Representation Board condemn the ALP's proposed changes to the Migration Act 1958 that will give unprecedented powers to the Home Affairs Minister to deport and punish non-citizens, and B, that the Australian Labor Party's condemn the Australian Labor Party's horrific treatment of refugee and asylum seekers. This one was moved by Arifin. Was there a seconder for this one? Thane? Arifin, did you want to add anything as mover?
Thank you. As we know that the new proposed change to the government regarding this policy will be something that we need to concern, because this will bring a new issue and concern for the refugee and asylum seekers. As we know that we have a lot of asylum seekers in Australia, and the thing is that how we try to propose a new idea to against and they reject this idea, because we see like the impact of this policy will be very wide. And then we need to at least not to give the power to the Ministry of Home Affairs to do the deportation for them. At least they should follow a legal process in order to see their asylum seeker process in Australia. I think that's all from me.
Thank you, Arifin. Thane, did you want to add anything a second?
I just generally agree with what Arifin said and condemn the policy that the government's putting forward.
Thank you, Thane. Continue, Michael. And Ella, as the submitter of the motion, did you want to add anything as well?
Just quickly, like, I don't agree with fully what the first speaker said, just because it's like, I don't think anyone should be deported who's a refugee or asylum seeker. And like, they don't like following the correct channels. I also reject that, because the correct channels, like giving it to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and like the Department of Home Affairs, who can basically just blankly like deport people who they want. Like, so many Tamil refugees, before this bill has even been put in place, so many Tamil refugees every single year are deported back to Sri Lanka, where they face persecution, where they face oppression, where they face intense violent racism from the Sinhalese government. And so many Tamils are in limbo every single day in this country, who have barely any rights because they're all on temporary visas, have to reapply for visas every 6 months, and then can be deported at any single moment they want. I'm against all of that. So I'm against the Home Affairs having extra powers. I'm also against any deportation of a refugee or asylum seeker who have come to this country fleeing persecution, fleeing war, and wanting a better life. So I kind of disagree with some of the wording of the first speaker, to be honest.
Yeah, the thing is that I will be totally agree with that opinions, but the thing is that all the process should be legal. The thing is that we expect them. We don't want deportation, but we want all the asylum seekers to have the legal process as well. That's right, right? That's my opinion. My statement will be clear that we don't want the government to do deportations without anything process. But the thing is that everything should be in legal process. That's the key point here. Asylum seeker will be very wide if you try to discuss about the definitions, because I'm studying about this one. But the thing is that how we try to see and that we try to accept most of them if they are in line with the interest of the Australian government, and then these things. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Arifin. Was there any more discussion or comments on this? Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think we should just accept asylum seekers if they're in line with, like, I'm not sure what the exact wording was, but like Australian values or Australia's interests. I think, yeah, that's kind of the language that is used by pretty far right politicians, and I just think we have to, reject that asylum seekers have to be in view with Australia's interests for them to be here. I also wanted to note that it is Labor that have led the torture of refugees. They have not been trying to follow Liberal. They have been the ones that have trailblazed the torture of refugees in this country. In the 90s, it was Paul Keating who established mandatory detention, and Labor then supported the interception of the Tampa, which saw dozens killed. They supported the new laws that came out of that. It was Julia Gillard, the Labor Prime Minister, who reopened the offshore detention centres of Nauru and Manus Island. And it was Kevin Rudd who said that no one who comes to this country by boat will ever be able to settle in Australia. So I think it is really important that we acknowledge and that we condemn that it is Labor that have been at the forefront of torturing refugees. And now they are introducing a Trumpian-style, racist and torturous attack on refugees that will criminalise them. It is mandatory sentencing, which Labor position and say they oppose, but they do not. It is mandatory sentencing to anyone that comes here and does not help with their own fucking deportation. It's disgusting, and I think we need to oppose it and acknowledge that it is Labor who time and time again show what it looks like to put forward the most torturous refugee policies that the far right in Europe, they wish they could implement that, and they are trying. They are looking at what Labor have done for decades decades and trying to implement that. That is Labor that have done that, and it is atrocious that there are people in this room, on this board, who claim to be for refugees, but yet are in Labor, support Labor, or go for meetups and coffee with Labor ministers while refugees are tortured in Labor set-up camps.
Thank you for those comments, guys. Thanks for that discussion.
Yeah,
Arifin, did you want to respond or add anything?
yeah, I just want to respond a little bit only.
Okay, go ahead.
The thing is that you try to talk about labor. I move this motion is not, you complain about this one and then you mention about labor thing, something like that. The thing is that we don't want to discuss more about that thing policy because I move this thing. It's not, I don't see my color will be labor or etc. Because I'm international student here. And then you talk about labor things. But the thing is that we would like to concern about the motion or not, or you just want to discuss about the Labour Party policy idea. Because here, these meetings, we try to concern about this motion and then to see how the impact for the student as well is related to this one. Are you gonna say only about political interest here or not? Or you just want to see about the interest of the student here?
Okay,
This
guys.
one. Thank you.
Let's not start a fight. Yeah, you can have a reply. Yep.
Yeah, obviously we oppose Liberals. We're left-wing to Labor. We oppose Liberals. Okay, I'm speaking. We oppose Liberals when they came out and they had anti-refugee policies. We oppose Liberals when Tony Abbott made one of the most draconian anti-refugee laws. But then we also oppose Labor when they fully fucking backed it. So it is Labor now who are in government with this left-wing gloss and are doing it. So yeah, it is political because it is the politicians that get to decide who lives and who dies. There are refugees in asylums in these concentration camps, really, a lot of the time, who have survived awful conditions in Iraq and all these countries that we are bombing also, and they don't kill themselves until they come to our refugee camps. So I think it is important that we acknowledge this is Labor and it is political.
Thank you, guys. I think we can all acknowledge that the current proposed changes are abhorrent and the government controlled by Liberal and Labor at any times have all done abhorrent treatment of refugees. Guys,
It's like that's an important topic, and you basically just implied that it's like only relevant to students.
well, we are the Curtin Student Guild, but we are going to relate this to how students, and students should care about this. But I'm going to take this to a vote because we are going in circles. So all those in favour, can I please see hands? Are there any against? No, that motion is carried. Ella, please, this is your second warning, please.
I mean, honestly, like.
Ella, please, please.
That political question that will lead to so many people's lives.
Ella, please don't make me adjourn this meeting. Please don't make me adjourn this meeting. Ella, please, I need to move on with this meeting. Please, thank you. No, we're done with it. This motion has been passed. We are moving on. We're moving on to general business. I wonder if anyone has any. General business. Does anyone have any general business related to this committee that we haven't previously spoken about? Nope, all good. We did have Amari during the meeting evaluation, but because they got on well in the meeting, I think we'll just skip it for today, if everyone's all right with that. Yep. Okay. Well, then the next order, I'll close the meeting then at 6:26 p.m. And the next ordinary meeting of the Representation Board will be on Thursday, the 16th of May at 5:30 to be held at Council Chambers. And documents and motions will be submitted no later than 5 p.m. on Thursday, the 9th of May. Oh, what is this about? It goes to when it goes.
That's how we put the rules.
So then why isn't like what discussion?
We've got general business.